A cold January wind rushed between the buildings of a quiet Seattle neighborhood as Ethan Hawley, a 42-year-old project manager, stepped inside his apartment. His face was tight, his jaw clenched, and his breath unsteady, clear signs he had carried the weight of a frustrating, almost unbearable day. Everything had felt wrong from the moment he woke up. The traffic on I-5 was slower than usual. His coffee spilled on his shirt right before his big morning presentation. And then came the biggest blow. His boss unfairly blamed him for a system error he didn't even cause. By the time he reached home, Ethan felt like a volcano just moments from erupting. He tossed his keys on the counter with a clatter and collapsed onto the couch, rubbing his temples, trying to massage away the headache that was building. That's when his phone buzzed. A long message appeared on the screen. It was from his younger brother, Logan. "I can't believe you didn't show up for Mom's appointment. You promised you'd never take responsibility anymore. Seriously, what's wrong with you?" Ethan stared at the screen. His heart rate jumped. His face flushed red with anger. Every fiber of his being screamed at him to reply. He wanted to defend himself, to unleash a torrent of words sharp enough to cut right through the screen and hit back just as hard. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to type out a furious response. But then, something stopped him. A memory, a lesson his late father had taught him years and years ago. Never reply when you're angry, his dad used to say. Words spoken in anger burn longer than the fire that created them. He stood there, gripping the phone, breathing through clenched teeth. The urge to lash out was overwhelming, but his father's words echoed in his mind. And slowly, he locked the phone and set it aside. He didn't reply, not because he was accepting the blame, not because he was weak, but because he understood that replying in that moment would destroy far more than it would ever solve. Instead, he forced himself to move. He changed out of his work clothes, warmed up some leftover soup, and sat by the window. Outside, the city lights blinked softly like scattered gold, and as he watched them, the storm inside him began to settle. The anger started to fade. The next morning, Ethan woke up with a much clearer mind. The intense, burning anger from the night before had cooled into something steadier, something closer to understanding. He picked up his phone, but before replying to Logan, he opened his calendar app just to double-check, and then he froze. There it was. His mother's appointment wasn't yesterday. It was today. Logan had mistaken the date. Ethan closed his eyes and exhaled deeply, a wave of relief washing over him. If he had replied last night, angry and wounded, the message he would have sent could have shattered their relationship for weeks, maybe even months. Who knows how much damage a few angry sentences can cause? He typed, slowly, carefully, choosing his words. "Hey, Logan. I think you mixed up the date. Mom's appointment is today, not yesterday. I'm leaving work early to take her. Want to join me?" A few seconds later, 3 dots appeared on the screen as Logan typed. Then, a new message popped up. "Oh my God, Ethan, I'm so sorry. I just checked the text again. You're right, I messed up. I shouldn't have snapped at you last night. I was stressed. I'm really sorry." Ethan smiled. A calm reply had saved a relationship. But his day was far from over. When he arrived at the office, another storm was waiting. His boss, Mr. Sanderson, stood by the conference table with a stern, impatient look on his face. "Ethan," he said sharply, his voice cutting through the quiet office hum. "We need to talk." Ethan braced himself. He knew what this was about. About the system error, he asked, keeping his voice steady. Mr. Sanderson didn't mince words. "The client is furious. This mistake is going to cost us a fortune to fix. How could you let this happen?" He held up a printout of the error report, his finger jabbing at a line of code. Ethan felt that familiar heat rising in his chest again. The blame, the injustice of it all. He knew it wasn't his fault. He had flagged the potential issue weeks ago, but his warnings were ignored. His first instinct was to fight back, to defend his reputation, to point the finger right back where it belonged. He could say, "I told you so. You didn't listen." But then, he remembered the night before. He remembered the feeling of regret he had avoided. So, he took a deep breath. He held his boss's gaze and spoke calmly. I understand the client is upset, and I agree this is a serious problem. I want to help fix it. Can we walk through the error report together? I have some ideas that might help us resolve this faster than we think. Mr. Sanderson was taken aback. He was expecting a fight, an argument, a denial. But Ethan's calm, problem-solving approach completely disarmed him. Fine, he grumbled, his tone softening just a little. Show me what you've got. They spent the next hour in the conference room. Ethan didn't say, I told you so. He didn't assign blame. Instead, he calmly pointed to the section of the code he had previously identified as a risk. He explained the logic and proposed a solution he had already thought through. As he spoke, Mr. Sanderson's expression changed from anger to focus, and then to a grudging respect. He saw that Ethan wasn't just defending himself. He was genuinely trying to fix the problem. By the end of the meeting, they had a clear plan. Mr. Sanderson looked at Ethan, the hostility gone from his eyes. All right, Ale. Good work. Get on this right away. It wasn't an apology, but it was a victory. Ethan had not only protected his position, but he had also earned a new level of respect from his boss, all without raising his voice. Later that afternoon, Ethan met Logan at their mother's clinic. His brother gave him a tight hug. Man, I'm really sorry about last night, Logan said again. No worries, Ethan replied, smiling. We all have those days. As they walked their mom into her appointment, a sense of peace settled over Ethan. In less than 24 hours, he had faced two major conflicts that could have easily spiraled out of control. He could have damaged his relationship with his brother and his career, but he didn't. By choosing to pause, to breathe, and to respond with reason instead of reacting with anger, he had turned potential disasters into moments of connection and respect. He realized his father, Isi leçon wasn't about suppression or weakness. It was about strength, the strength to control your own fire, so it warms instead of burns. The man who didn't reply when angry hadn't lost those battles. He had won them, quietly and completely. Yes, the boss said. The client is upset. They said you approved the wrong spreadsheet format. Ethan blinked. I didn't approve anything. I wasn't even on that chain. I saw your name on the report, Sanderson insisted. The old Ethan would have snapped. He would have raised his voice, defended himself, and escalated the conflict. But not today. Today, he simply said, Can I show you something? He walked over to his computer, opened the email thread, and scrolled. His name indeed appeared on the approval list, but only because someone forward tagged him after the mistake was made. He hadn't approved anything. He hadn't even opened the document. When Sanderson realized this, his face softened. Ethan, primera apologis. I jumped to conclusions. I shouldn't have blamed you. It's okay, Ethan replied, and he meant it. He had learned a powerful lesson. Reacting in anger rarely solves anything, but a calm response can disarm conflict before it even begins. Something strange happened as the day went on. People noticed Ethan's calmness. The office energy around him started to shift. When a client called angrily, Ethan didn't mirror their tone. He kept his voice steady. When a coworker complained loudly about delays, Ethan didn't argue, he listened. When tension rose in meetings, he didn't rise with it. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, people around him began responding with the same softness. One quiet choice note, replying in anger, was now influencing everyone around him. It was a ripple effect. His calm became contagious, creating a more peaceful and productive atmosphere. It wasn't about suppressing feelings, but about choosing a better way to express them. That evening, Ethan and Logan met at their mother's clinic. Their mother, Mary Halle, sat in a wheelchair outside the examination room, a warm smile on her face. You boys made it, she said cheerfully. Together, that's rare. Logan laughed awkwardly. Don't make it sound like we're 5. Mary watched her sons closely. Her gaze was sharp, missing nothing. You two fought yesterday, didn't you? Both of them froze. How did she always know? Ethan, remembering his new resolve, gently said, "It was just a misunderstanding." Mary nodded slowly, her expression full of wisdom. "Good. Don't let anger speak for you. It ruins the best people." Ethan's chest tightened. She sounded just like their father. He looked at his brother, Logan, and said with genuine honesty, "I'm glad I didn't reply last night." He'd been so close to sending a furious text that would have only made things worse. Logan rubbed the back of his neck, looking a bit sheepish. "Yeah, me too." In that moment, the unspoken tension between them finally dissolved. It was a quiet acknowledgement that their relationship was more important than winning an argument. The space created by not reacting had allowed for understanding to take root. After the appointment, Ethan and Logan grabbed coffee at a small cafe across the street. The sunset painted the sky with brilliant orange and pink streaks, a peaceful end to a challenging day. Logan took a sip of his coffee and said quietly, almost hesitantly, "Do you really not reply when you're angry?" Ethan considered the question. "Not always," he admitted. "It's not about being perfect, but I've learned that replying in anger usually just makes things worse. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire." Logan nodded slowly, staring into his cup. "I wish I had that control. I just see red." "You know, you will," Ethan said, his voice encouraging. "It's like a muscle. The more you practice pausing, the stronger that muscle gets." Logan looked up and smiled, a genuine smile for the first time that day. "You know, you're a better brother than I give you credit for." Ethan grinned back. "And you're not as annoying as you used to be," he joked. They both laughed loudly, the kind of deep, heartfelt laugh that heals old wounds and rebuilds bridges. In that small cafe, under the painted sky, something shifted. Their bond, strained for so long by small conflicts and unspoken resentments, was finally starting to mend. It all started with the simple choice to not reply. Weeks passed. Life mowed on, but it was different. At work, projects became smoother. The calm, solution-focused environment Ethan fostered made everyone more effective. His relationship with Logan became stronger than it had been in years. They talked more, laughed more, and argued less. Most importantly, Ethan no longer carried that constant weight of emotional exhaustion. He wasn't spending his energy on pointless battles or nursing grudges. He felt lighter, more focused, and more at peace. The discipline of emotional control was paying dividends in every area of his life. And then, a new test arrived, one far more difficult than the first. One rainy night, as the drops pelted against his window, Ethan received a long, furious email from a major client. It accused him of single-handedly delaying a critical project, costing them a significant amount of money, and being careless and unprofessional. The message was a brutal, unfair attack. It was filled with exaggerations, half-truths, and outright false accusations. Every word was designed to provoke, to wound, to incite a reaction. This wasn't a simple misunderstanding like with his boss. This was a direct assault on his professional integrity. His heart pounded in his chest, and his hands trembled with a familiar, hot rage. All the progress he had made felt like it was about to be undone. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to unleash a counterattack, to defend his name with equal fury. Every instinct screamed at him to reply, to fight back. But then, he remembered. He remembered the calm, the peace, the mended relationships. He took a deep breath, closed his laptop, and walked away. The real test had just begun. Have you ever been so angry that you almost sent a message you knew you'd regret? Let me tell you a story about a guy named Ethan. One afternoon, an angry email landed in Ethan's inbox. The client was furious, blaming his team for a mistake they didn't make. Ethan's fingers flew across the keyboard, his own anger boiling over. "This is ridiculous," he typed. "Maybe if your team followed instructions, ... Cuts! His thumb hovered over the send button. The urge to fire back, to prove he was right, was overwhelming. But then, he stopped. He deleted the message. He didn't send it. Instead, Ethan got up, walked into the kitchen, and poured a tall glass of water. Then, he put on a jacket and went for a 10-minute walk, even though it was drizzling outside. He focused on the cool air, the sound of the rain, the rhythm of his own breathing. He let the storm inside him pass. An hour later, he returned to his desk, his mind clear and calm. He opened the email again and wrote a completely different reply. Thank you for sharing your concerns. I understand the frustration this situation has caused. I've reviewed the timeline, and here's what really happened. Let me know how you'd like us to proceed, and I'll support the process. No accusations, no defensiveness, just a calm, professional response. The next morning, a reply from the client was waiting. I apologize for my tone yesterday. I should not have written that email in anger. Thank you for responding professionally. Who'd like that a crisis was averted, a professional relationship was saved. A fire was put out before it could even start. It was another victory, not for being right, but for the strategic use of silence. This wasn't the first time this lesson had saved him, and it all went back to something his father taught him. One quiet Saturday, Ethan found himself at his father's grave. The cemetery was peaceful, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves. He sat on a stone bench next to the headstone and spoke in a low voice, as if sharing a secret. Dad, your lessons saved me more times than I can count. He gently placed his hand on the cool marble. I used to think staying silent when I was attacked made me weak, like I was letting people walk all over me. But now I get it. Silence, at the right moment, that's a kind of strength most people just don't have. He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath, letting that profound lesson settle back into his soul. So, what can we take away from Ethan's story? It's simple, but it's powerful. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is absolutely nothing. Not replying when you're angry doesn't mean you've lost the argument. It means you've won something much more valuable. You've protected your own peace of mind. You've preserved a relationship that might have been shattered by a few impulsive words. You chose long-term wisdom over short-term gratification. This doesn't mean Ethan became a robot, devoid of emotion. He still got angry. He still got frustrated. We all do. But he learned to live by one simple, life-altering rule: speak only once your heart is calmer than your anger. Think about that for a second. How many arguments could be avoided? How many relationships could be mended? How many bridges could be built instead of burned if we all just waited until the emotional storm passed? This one small change had a ripple effect across Ethan's entire life. It transformed his career, turning tense client situations into opportunities for trust and respect. It deepened his relationships with his family, replacing heated arguments with patient conversations. It fundamentally changed how he saw himself and the world. It changed his life. And maybe, just maybe, it can change yours, too. The next time you feel that fire of anger rising, that urge to immediately hit send, to make your point, to win the fight, try Ethan's method. Pause. Take a breath. Take a walk. Give yourself the gift of time. Wait until your heart is calmer than your anger. You might be surprised by the power you find in that pause. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content on building a stronger, more intentional life. See you in the next one.